Minions? That was Hein's first word when she saw the shadow soldiers. She discarded it almost immediately. Most mage hunters controlled one minion at a time. The very best might manage 2. She'd never heard of anyone commanding 3. And Jin-Woo had over 100. She'd been about to step forward when he looked at her. No words. The message was completely clear. He didn't need help. Don't get in the way. Just watch. She lowered the pickaxe. Her faith in him won out over logic. Her heart was strangely aflutter. Jin-Woo exhaled with relief. She'd caught on quickly. He'd been waiting for this moment since the start of the battle, since he'd made himself watch the shaman play with Ki-hoon instead of intervening. Ki-hoon's the type to fight until his dying breath. That was why he'd held back. Waiting until the sword finally fell from Ki-hoon's hand had been the hardest part. But now Ki-hoon was safe, and everything else in this lair was a valid target. My shadows! Every soldier snapped into battle stance simultaneously. Jin-Woo pointed at the shaman. Go! Over 100 shadow soldiers stampeded forward. The ground shook. Jincho, sprinting through the dungeon, arrived at the lair entrance breathless and found Hein standing there watching. Then he saw past her. What is? Black-armored soldiers were systematically dismantling the high orcs. Some were humanoid, one was alarmingly large. Several were black bears emitting smoke, and a handful were former high orcs, now wearing the same dark armor as everything else. Hein explained they were Jinwoo's summons. Jinchul watched Jinwoo fight through the melee with 2 daggers, moving like someone who'd done this 10,000 times. He thought about President Go's unusually personal interest in this hunter. He understood it now. May I ask what brings you here, Manager Wu? Hein asked without looking at him. Did our guild contact the surveillance team? No. We detected abnormal readings and came to evacuate the strike squad. He watched for a moment. I guess we didn't need to. He nodded. It's best if we stay out of the way. No room for anyone else in this fight, not even an S-rank hunter. The shaman had reached the same conclusion and decided to do something about it. Eyes glowing red, watching its tribe be slaughtered by a single human, it began to cast. Song of Rage, Song of Strength, Song of Giants, Song of Dragonfire. The shaman's body expanded to 10 meters. Its arms swept through a column of shadow soldiers, scattering them like toys. Then it took a deep breath. Woo! The blackish-red flame that rolled out of its mouth vaporized everything it touched. Not wounded, not thrown back. Shadow soldiers simply ceased to exist where the fire reached them. A second blast followed before the first had finished. Do you still think I, Kargalgan, am no match for you? The answer came from directly above its head. Yup. The shaman's shielding spell came up half a second too late. Jinwoo was faster. He punched the top of the beast's skull from above. Wham! Crack! The shaman's head drove into the cave floor, leaving a spiderweb of cracks in solid stone. Jinwoo had done this before with Vulcan, who had been considerably larger. You have defeated the master of the dungeon. You have leveled up. 3 times total, once during the first battle with stealth, once clearing the high orcs, once for the boss. 3 levels from a single A-rank dungeon. Jinwoo pumped his fist. He felt genuinely grateful to Yoonsuk for offering him the job. The shaman's body had returned to its original size with the buff spells gone. Jinwoo glanced at the large essence stone in its necklace and looked away. This was the Hunters Guild's dungeon, and he could get A-rank essence stones from somewhere he'd acquired himself. What he was actually here for was the black smoke drifting from the shaman's body. He thought of Barker in the Red Gate. The extraction that hadn't worked. But I've changed since then. A rise, a chill breeze. He knew it had worked before the smoke finished moving. A hooded mage erupted from the shaman's shadow with an ear-piercing shriek. Jinwoo checked its status screen. Elite Knight rank. He'd seen regular, elite, and knight classifications before, never a combination. Its magic power clearly outranked Igris and Iron. Appropriate for a shadow born from an A-rank boss. The system asked him to choose a name. High orcs had distinctive long fangs. Even with the hooded robe covering most of the face, the characteristic applied. Jinwoo thought about the shaman, who had been insufferably narcissistic right up until its death, and found a certain satisfaction in the choice. Fang. Kargalgan would have been absolutely aghast, but it was already dead anyway. Now able to store 130 shadows, Jinwoo recalled his soldiers and released the overflow into the void. He dropped lightly from the altar. Jinchul moved immediately when Jinwoo appeared, stepped to his side, produced his identification, and announced, "I'm from the association's surveillance team. All matters relating to Hunter Jinwoo Sung are to be considered extremely confidential. We will escort Hunter Sung out. Submit questions through the association." Everyone from the Hunters Guild except Hain went still. Walking out, Jinwoo asked quietly why Jinchul was helping him. "You just demonstrated powers exceeding an S-rank hunter in front of the largest guild in Korea," Jinchul said, eyes forward. "The association wants to prevent any single guild from upsetting the balance of power. You want to avoid being pressured. Both goals are served by the same action. Neither party in debt to the other." Jinwoo found it entirely reasonable. "Wait." Ki-hoon was coming toward him, supported by a larger colleague, pale from blood loss, standing on legs that should not have been functional. He stopped in front of Jinwoo and bowed his head. "Thank you." Steady voice despite everything. "We're safe because of you. I thank you on behalf of the entire strike squad." He'd choked up when Jinwoo punished the shaman in the exact same way the shaman had punished him. When he thought about that moment, he felt he couldn't thank Jinwoo enough. "Thank you." He bowed deeply. His body screamed. He endured it. The rest of the squad converged on Jinwoo in a rush. "Thank you so much, Mr. Hunter Sung. Thanks to you, my wife isn't a widow." The youngest hunter approached with wet eyes. "May I give you a hug?" "Okay, that's too far." "Someone stop him." "Then I'll go for a hug from you." "Whoomp! Gah, let go! You're creeping me out!" Ha! Their first laughter since entering the dungeon. Jinwoo spotted the female healer at the edge of the group, small enough that he'd almost missed her. He returned the notebook. She blushed, took it with both hands. "Thank you." She berated herself mentally. How embarrassing to have handed a last will and testament notebook to the luggage carrier who'd just made easy work of the boss. "Miss Healer," Jinwoo said. "Yes? Please keep your personal items out of the strike squad's gear going forward." He held her eyes. "It makes it heavier." She stared, speechless. He turned and walked away. Hain had been reaching out to stop him, and didn't. She wanted to ask for his number, but approaching him now, when his situation was clearly unresolved, would only complicate things. A mage from the squad noticed the tool still in Hain's hand. Vice President, why are you holding a pickaxe?" Hain stared at it. "Do you think that made me look weird?" "Depends on who you ask, I guess." Hain's neck flushed as well. Outside the gate, Jinchul checked his watch, 5:15, and offered dinner with President Go. Jinwoo had other plans. He declined. Jinho was in the same cafe where he'd first presented his proposal to Jinwoo. Same table. He was taking deep breaths from a movie he'd seen once. My destiny will be decided soon. He'd been more anxious confronting his father about Yoojin Guild than he'd been in years. This was worse. Jinwoo walked in, battle-stained shirt and all. "Boss, your clothes." "I came straight from a dungeon." Jinho felt shame wash over him. After getting his guildmaster's license, he'd spent his free time drinking. Jinwoo, already this powerful, kept training in dungeons. He wore the stained clothes the way others wore medals. Jinho told him everything. The confrontation with his father, Myungwon-ko's testimony about the Red Gate, the position Jinwoo's support would unlock. Jinwoo listened, thought that the Ko detail was slightly unnecessary but forgivable, and raised his head. "You need me in order to be named Guildmaster of Yoojin Guild, right?" Jinho waited for his answer with composure. No joking, no sweet talk, whatever it was. "Jinho, aye." Jinho's mouth went dry. Across town, Jongin, president of the Hunters Guild, called Ki-hoon and learned that Jinwoo had been on his excavation team and luggage crew without anyone noticing. He set aside the question of motives, would only lead to a headache, and asked the question sitting in his throat. "How would you say he compares to me?" A childish question, maybe. An honest one. Ki-hoon responded carefully. "Could you clear a higher-level A-rank dungeon by yourself, sir?" That would be impossible. He managed it. He even rejected Hunter Cha's assistance. Hain was there too? Jongin processed this, thought about what 3 S-ranks together could accomplish, and felt his heart pound. "Please recruit Hunter Sung for our guild," Ki-hoon said. "I think he'll help you achieve your dream." Jongin attempted to conceal the trembling in his voice. I'll try my best. 3 days later, the Hunters Association headquarters was buried under reporters who'd come to watch Minsung Lee, Asia's superstar, receive his hunter's license. Yoonho Baek and Jongin Choi arrived in separate luxury cars. Both immediately swarmed. Both stated they were there on other business. Taegyu Lim, Master of the Reapers Guild, arrived and tried not to visibly enjoy the spectacle. He was here with Minsung, who had already signed with his guild. Minsung had chosen the Reapers deliberately. Joining a declining guild made him look like a champion of the underdog. His actual arrangement was a 2-year promotional contract at a comfortable salary, which also helped certain questions about a military service exemption go away quietly. Image management was his real expertise. He watched the 3 guild masters from the window with his practiced smile. Then Jin-Woo arrived. He pushed through the crowd without urgency. Minsung's D-rank manager moved to block the steps and shoved Jin-Woo with real force, the kind that would hurt an ordinary person. Jin-Woo didn't move. The manager stared at the result of his shove and began turning pale. Take the back entrance. Move, asshole. Who told you he couldn't go this way? President Gun-hee-go was standing just inside the glass doors. The crowd went quiet. Go asked Minsung if he remembered who authorized this press conference, looked at him until he nodded, then escorted Jin-Woo inside. Minsung's plan to regain momentum was clear within seconds. Retirement announcement. Hail Mary pass. He declared that he would retire from acting to serve as a hunter regardless of his evaluation result. It worked for roughly 40 seconds before everyone's phones started ringing simultaneously. The reporters checked the association's app, a new S-rank hunter's photo and name. They turned as a group and stampeded toward the building. The surveillance team held the line. Reporter Lim passed Minsung without stopping. I'll get back to you later. Minsung could hear the conversation as the reporter walked away. Yes, the headline for tomorrow should be, The Tearful E-rank Becomes Joyful S-rank. Minsung was alone on the steps. He sat down. What the hell is this? The glass doors opened. The 10th S-rank hunter walked out into the camera flashes. Inside, the evaluation had concluded without drama. Jin-Woo had summoned the lowest-level shadow soldier he owned. The evaluators flinched. He reported about 100 when asked how many he could summon, deliberately understating, since more than 20 witnesses had seen the full count in the dungeon. President Go, watching from a corner, calculated what 100 B-rank equivalent soldiers meant in terms of battlefield power, and felt the warmth of a prediction confirmed. The license read, Jin-Woo Sung, S-rank, mage class. Back outside, Yoonho and Jongin offered to escort him home. He declined, pulled his hood up, and jumped over the reporters' heads in a single motion. He landed outside the swarm and disappeared into the crowd before anyone could react. Jongin laughed. He was just registered as an S-rank, and he's already playing Superman. He turned to Yoonho, and found President Baek covering his eyes with one hand, turned away. Baek, your eyes. Oh, sorry. Yoonho reopened them. His pupils had returned from beasts to human. He was still trembling slightly. When Jinwoo had focused power in his legs for that jump, his hidden magic power had been briefly exposed. Yoonho had involuntarily activated Eyes of a Beast and read the number. He'd done the same at the Red Gate, and come away knowing Jinwoo was dangerous. What he'd just read wasn't comparable. The same person, a completely different power level, and the reawakening had happened months ago. How had his power increased since then? An impossible theory. Is he able to increase his power level? That evening, 3 hours of research produced nothing. Then on page 5 of a search for hunter upgradability, a link to a hunter forum post. Title, Something Strange Happened. Contents, I started seeing my stats on a floating screen like in a video game, and I can even upgrade them. Has anyone else experienced this? Yoonho called Manager Ann of the 2nd Administration Team, who'd already been building a file on Jinwoo. He was hospitalized after the double dungeon incident, sir. Comatose. He woke up the day before that post appeared. Yoonho leaned back in his chair. Woke up. Then someone posted about floating stat screens. If a hunter existed who could actively increase his power, not through reawakening, but through something else, then watching Jinwoo grow over time would be less like tracking an S-rank competitor and more like watching something unprecedented unfold. He needed to speak with Jin-Woo directly. He had no idea yet how to arrange that with someone who cleared A-rank dungeons alone and jumped over reporters when inconvenienced. Meanwhile, Jin-Woo was at the Hunter's Auction House, a building more like an art gallery than a commercial venue, meeting Jung-gi Kim from the appraisal team, who'd been waiting at the entrance. Inside, the head appraiser, a B-rank mage with 7 years in this profession, had inspected every color of magic sphere ever recovered. He'd never seen a red one. When Jin-Woo set the sphere of avarice on the table, and the appraiser reached for it, something involuntary moved up his spine. A thought he'd never had in 7 years surfaced and vanished. Knock out the client, take the item. He looked up at Jin-Woo, watching him calmly, and the thought evaporated. He turned on the camera. Both the manager and Jung-gi knew what that meant. The item was real. The sphere placed on the manometer, then held while casting. Snowflakes around the appraiser's right hand exploded into a room-filling blizzard before he cut the power. The manager stood still, calculating 5% commission on a number he couldn't begin to estimate, his breathing suddenly difficult. Jung-gi quietly pumped his fist. Where had Jin-Woo acquired it? I picked it up in a dungeon. Silence. Flame-resistant artifacts, Jin-Woo asked next. The manager explained that fire magic was the most common attack type, making protective gear against it the easiest specialty equipment to acquire. Jin-Woo could have it within days. Jin-Woo nodded and asked him to arrange it. Jung-gi offered a VIP exhibition room tour. At one glass display case, Jin-Woo knocked on the surface and asked whether thin glass was really enough protection. Jung-gi assured him it could withstand a full-force strike from an A-rank brawler and, recklessly, offered Jin-Woo the chance to test it himself. He immediately regretted this when Jin-Woo's shoulder and arm began filling with energy and the air around him settled. Hold on, that was an example. Jin-Woo powered down without argument. After he moved on, Jung-gi checked the case for fingerprints and found a tiny crack in one corner. He called maintenance and said nothing to anyone. In the weapons room, Jin-Woo held an offered dagger and returned it with visible dissatisfaction. How much? 30 million won. He stared at it, asked the man to repeat the number, then produced Night Killer from his jacket. The employee's composure collapsed. He studied the blade with wide eyes and said it was worth at least 100 million won. Jin-Woo thought about Night Killer's price from the system shop, 2.8 million gold. He thought about the entire shop inventory he'd been ignoring for months. What if he bought items from the shop and sold them at the auction house at a premium? He might not need to sell the sphere of avarice at all. From the shadow beneath his feet, he thought he could faintly hear the shadow mages cheering. At Yoojin Construction headquarters, Jinho stood outside the chairman's office, breathed, and went in. His father was reading documents and didn't look up. Come in. He signed papers as he spoke. I have something I'd like to say about Hunter Sung. Chairman Yu finally looked up. His phone vibrated. He raised a hand, read the notification, grabbed a remote, and turned on the wall-mounted television. Breaking news. Jin-Woo Sung, S rank, reawakened from E rank. Jinho nearly came out of his own skin hearing the boss's name on a news broadcast. The face on screen was blank in the way Jinho recognized as mildly irritated. The boss was definitely miffed. The chairman turned off the television. Continue. I'm sorry, father. I couldn't change the boss's mind. A pause. What was Hunter Sung's reason? He told me he was going to form his own guild and offered me the vice-presidential position. Jinho braced. His father was known for a poker face that had survived decades of high-stakes business. Heh. Chairman Yu laughed. Quietly, but undeniably, Jinho said nothing. He averted his eyes. After a moment, do you know why I want to form Yoojin Guild? Because there's good money to be made? No. Firm. I already have plenty. Do you think I'd create conflict with the large guilds for money? He continued. The power of hunters grows continuously. Some already wield force comparable to a country's military. In smaller countries, hunters already rule like kings. How long can law and order protect us from that scenario? He had a small smile. It looks like you already found someone worth trusting. Yes. Jinho answered immediately. All right, you passed. Huh. I leave Yoojin Guild to you. Build it. Recruit strong hunters you can trust, They'll be worth more to you than any fortune. This may have been the first time Jinho's father had validated him in his entire life. Thank you, father. He smiled and bowed 90 degrees. Then, however, I don't think I can do that. Chairman Yu's eyebrow twitched. For what reason? Jinho raised his head and answered cheerfully, without a moment's hesitation. I'm going to join the boss's guild.